My name is Suleman, as Gaur Saab has already introduced. I'm really humbled to be here and to be able to present to my teachers. Dr. Shahid Noor was saying that, his teachers are here. And he's my teacher and mentor, so you can imagine. So Professor Billo, Professor Tipu Suhan, and the entire fraternity which is here. As a Dow graduate, I'm really humbled to be able to present in front of you, sir. So can I have my slides, please? So just to very quickly introduce, the topic I would have is very much similar to what Omar has already presented. So I will try not to repeat too much, but there are certain points that need reinforcement. So I would retreat a little bit just to emphasize on some of the key elements. So what are the landscape and the challenges and the opportunities? And Omar actually talked about, and Dr. Shahid Noor talked about the entire medical device. I'm focusing only on one element, which is the diagnostic reagents, जिनको हम प्यार से kits कहते हैं, क्योंकि kits is a cute name. But these kits basically are the diagnostic reagents. So I will just focus on them. And the data I'm just putting here just to give you an idea as a flavor of landscape is from January 2022 to December 2023, which is already in the public domain. So nothing from, which is confidential or which is not really already out in the public domain. So I just gathered data from the public domain so that we have a little bit of a sample without any confidentiality issues, right? And वो जैसे बिरयानी की देख का आप एक चावल देख के अंदाज़ा लगा सकते हैं कि देख कैसी है. So I'll just give you a sample and then you can imagine, and in your mind you can scale up that what is the magnitude of the challenge or the magnitude of the opportunity, actually, the way we would like to put it, in terms of localization of these diagnostic kits development. But I will very briefly start with my very quick introduction of Martin Dow. Martin Dow is a diversified healthcare group. We have a number of pharmaceutical companies, as you know, but we also have recently introduced a consumer healthcare company. And I'm representing Martin Dow Specialties, which is specifically focusing on two areas. One is life science chemicals, and the other is medical diagnostics. And just like in medical diagnostics, the same challenge we face in life science chemicals, where we supply imported materials to our pharmaceutical companies in Pakistan. There's a lot of manufacturing base for pharmaceuticals in Pakistan, but in fact, all of the QC and QA materials are imported. And we as an importer, we know we are importing and we are supplying them. So we are supplying big pharmaceutical companies in Pakistan. And many of these elements could be localized as well. So just to give you that this is a challenge which is not only limited to this area of medical device, it's a challenge which affects number of industries in Pakistan. So we are very proud and pleased to be a strategic partner of a number of international medical device companies. And I can tell you that whenever we meet them, we always put this question that why can't you tech transfer? Why can't you help us, bring these developments in-house in Pakistan? And I can tell you that most of them are quite open. Now, naturally, the Chinese company can do it much quicker because, as Umar mentioned, they already have a structure, they already have an experience in this area. The Americans are much more rigid, much more process-oriented, but there's a will. So I can tell you that all these companies are quite open, actually. And there are medical device industry leaders in this house, and I'm sure they have a similar kind of experience. And later in the day, you have a panel discussion with HDAP senior members and medical device industry senior members. And I'm sure they will tell you the same thing, that the international partners, they are willing to tech transfer, they are willing to support us to localize all these medical devices, especially reagents. So why we need to start with the reagent is because if you want to do something locally, there's a technology that is involved, there's a cost which is involved. So it's very difficult to start with something which is very high tech. So reagents are probably an easier starting point if we are focusing only on IVD at this point in time. So just again, something which is already there in the public domain, there are 163 markets in the world which are the importers of medical device. Particularly, I'm talking about the diagnostic kits. And out of these 163 countries, Pakistan stands at number 9 position. Now, there are two ways of looking at this data. One way is that we are among the top 10 countries in the world which import diagnostic reagents. That's a big number, right? There's another way of looking at this data, that our population is number 5 or number 6 in the world. So this is also the opportunity, because the fact that we are importing 98% of medical devices from other countries means that we are lagging behind in terms of our diagnostics. So there's definitely a treatment gap, which our clinicians would back me up on this. And this treatment gap is partly because of compliance issue, but this is also partly because of the diagnostics issue. We are underdiagnosing our patients, and one of the reasons we are underdiagnosing our patients is the lack of a strong local manufacturing industry, because diagnostics are expensive, because diagnostics are imported. So that's another reason why we should look at this. Now, of course, there are many countries, 163 as I mentioned, but majority of these importers are actually the same countries which are also the exporters. And the big countries which are playing here is China, India, US, of course, and a few European companies. Pakistan imported around 550 shipments during this time frame of only the diagnostic kits, not the entire medical device. I'm only touching diagnostic kits. That's a large number. And these are basically were imported from 78 countries, but bulk of it was imported from India, China, and Europe, and also US. So out of the 83 countries from where we get these imports, 75% of our imports were coming from these 3 areas. Now 83 is a big number, so we are having imports of only diagnostics, one part of the medical device industry, from 83 countries. This shows how much cumbersome it is. Another piece of data is the number of buyers. Now according to this database, there are more than 200 active buyers who are buying diagnostic kits from different countries of the world. I can tell you that according to the HDAP data, we have around 1,100 to 1,300 companies who have establishment license as registered importers. That's a very big number. So there are potentially, allow me to say, there are potentially more than 1,000 importers who can actually take the leap and become a manufacturer. Because if today you are an importer and you are in this industry, you know the market, you know the dynamics, you know the customers, and you are better positioned to get into the manufacturing and start the manufacturing base, and that needs to happen very soon. So there are a number of benefits of localization. Some of these have already been touched. But these are basically, I could basically categorize them into 2 levels. One is that you can become an import or substitution, right? So when we say import substitution, it means that we get the product from outside and we localize it, and instead of getting it from the outside, getting it imported from other markets, we can at least partially fulfill the local demand locally. This import substitution, in our opinion, is the first step. Then, of course, you can get to the next level, which is the export. Now, what actually help us to go for a localization? Number one is the cost competitiveness. In Pakistan, as Umar was mentioning, we have very talented people, scientists, and the good news is that they don't charge you as much as they charge in other parts of the world. So basically, the cost that you need to build local manufacturing in Pakistan is significantly cheaper than in any other part of the world, and that's a big advantage. Then your geographic location and the initiatives which are being taken to convert Pakistan into an export hub, like CPAC. You can piggyback, medical device industry can actually piggyback all these initiatives, the road and belt initiatives and other things which are being done, and you can establish a corridor and you can utilize this corridor for export to the regional markets. We have geographically very close to CIS markets, and that gives us an edge. Then of course we have a growing local demand as well. Whenever you want to switch from an importer to a local manufacturer, the big risk is that if we invest so much and if we are unable to export, what will happen? So the good news is that you have a big population, you have an evolving health structure, diagnostics is increasing, and there's a growing local demand. So I think we can put this as an incentive to our local industry, that if you invest in this industry, if you are not able to export from day one, still you will be able to consume your products locally because you have a growing population and the local demand is increasing. And the government is actually supporting the export initiatives because of what has happened in 2023, when we have a serious balance of payment issue. And there were no dollars actually, so there was a lot of curbs on the imports, and the industry suffered, and the people of Pakistan suffered. So there's a political will to push for import substitution. The challenge is that this political will is not being translated, I'm sorry to say, into actual actions on ground to create a conducive environment. So I think there's a disconnect. The government is making a lot of statements, and they're showing their will, the political will, to help us locally manufacture, but somehow the regulators are not being able to provide the kind of conducive environment that we need in Pakistan. And here I look towards the support of HDAP and other local regulators, and we talked about CBR. So all these issues, if you don't fix these issues, if we ask government to support us, there's a political will. But when we come on ground and we try to do the business, then there are all these hindrances by different government agencies. So I think that needs to be, this political will needs to be translated into real actions on ground. So of course there are a lot of challenges as well. At this point in time, we have a limited infrastructure, we have limited in-house technology, but as I mentioned, there are opportunities of tech transfers that can be done. There are opportunities of JVs that can be done. And now with the organizations like HDAP and Saman and Shifa, leading this cause, I'm personally very confident that things will start to change. So we need to just come together and work together to make one unified front and make it happen. The key barrier would remain the quality control and the standardization with the introduction of IVDR internationally. We need to show some leniency in our local environment, because even the IVDR is giving 2 years to the established international manufacturers to get to those standards. So how come Pakistan, which is basically an import-driven industry, can reach those standards in no time? So those practical considerations needs to be taken into account into the regulatory framework, into the legal framework of medical device industry. So with all this, I believe if we put our efforts together, and if the different government agencies actively support us and understand our issues, then I think we have a very bright roadmap, and the job is cut for us. And with the support of Saman and Shifa, with the support of HDAP, I think the importers of medical device in Pakistan, time has come for them to take the leap and try to get into the local manufacturing. So thank you very much for your time and attention.